Welcome to Artifact Cup 28 in Homeworld Deserts of Karak. This is Majir Paktu speaking. This is a pretty small Artifact Cup. Only 6 players ended up playing in this. Originally 7 were registered and 1 couldn't make it. So we have our first game here in what is the quarterfinals by default, since that's where the bracket began, between RavingLuhn and Fukushim. So we're going to jump right into it. This is on Torren Crater. Typically a good map for Galcian players, but we have Coalition and Soban here, so this is going to be something a little unusual. And RavingLuhn had announced before starting this game that he was only going to be able to play 1 game and then was going to have to skip because of some other obligation outside of the game. So we do get to have 1 match between these two and see how they face off. So I'm watching this game from RavingLuhn's point of view. He is the Coalition player in gray and green. I like the green. It looks almost like a little sun there. Going to be going for CU's opening and not retiring the base runner quite yet. On the other side is Fukushim in this bright red and white Soban carrier, going for an RU open, and also has retired the base runner, it looks like. As the Soban, that makes some sense. The Soban don't have a particularly strong base runner. It's pretty much only good for grabbing artifacts in the early game and can be kind of useful in mid or late game with the anti-air turrets or the target jammer. But for the most part, the extra CUs that you get at the beginning are probably more valuable than holding onto that base runner if you're playing as Soban. So RavingLuhn is going to be moving out early, and aside from that, there's not really much that we can see at this point. Fukushima has already gotten the LAV tech. I am using my replay viewer mod, by the way, which allows us to see enemy tech choices, which is going to prove pretty useful. But for now, it's going to be a bit of wait and see.
Salvager online.
Mobilization. RUs identified.
So we'll just watch what they're producing in the meantime. RavingLuhn's doing this sort of remote mining thing off of both bases, and I would honestly have to see the numbers to make a statement on whether it's better to just camp on top of the main expansion and have all of these remote mined. I suspect that is better, but maybe there's something about the way that the salvagers accelerate or the size of the carrier and how they can drop off on one side or the other that makes this work better.
Proceed to rally point.
It'd be an interesting thing to lab. Fukushima, meanwhile, is just on his main base there with 6 salvagers. These LAVs, I don't think they spotted the base runner. They could have probably taken that out before it got to the extraction zone if they'd seen that, so spreading out a little bit with those LAVs would have been great for Fukushima. As it is, though, he will get in on these salvagers that are not too well defended by the carrier. Carrier doesn't have any power, any modules selected here, and it's not close enough to let the salvagers really just hide underneath it. So you can see he's going to move the carrier back now. That one RU salvager will probably go down.
Don't take your eyes off the scanner for a second. Alert, no salvager lost.
And if he can get this LAV out, it'll be just a straight win. And it looks like he will. So great timing by Fukushima there to decide, okay, I can't really do anything against a Coalition carrier that's got missiles upgraded, but I can kill a salvager. Interesting that he killed the RU salvager, or yes, the RU salvager there. Typically I'd go for CU salvagers, but maybe the RU salvager is a good choice. That will certainly prevent RavingLuhn from getting some tech like AEV tech that he might have needed sooner. I might revise my strategy after thinking about that. I just never really considered it before. So you can see just how fast that base runner went down. If those LAVs had been around just a little bit earlier with some scouting, then that artifact never would have come in for RavingLuhn. Not a huge deal, but just one of those things that, ooh. So a turret comes out, and normally I'd say that's a really bad move to deploy a turret
We've got hostile
on, you know, while you're being swarmed and almost dying. But with only 4 LEVs and a couple of them weak, it actually worked out, and the turret managed to get by with just a little under half health there. So,
Copy. Taking
not a bad move. This base runner now could repair, or it looks like it's going to get another artifact. So that's actually... This turret's not in a great place because this hill blocks it from shooting. But from the right approaches, it can also protect this extraction zone.
Hostile
So,
strike fighter in circulation. Strike craft taking effective fire. Receiving.
so I haven't been watching the tech, but Fukushim here clearly has air tech and has gone for that in addition to AAV tech, but gave away that fact so early. RavingLuhn, meanwhile, up at 7 AAVs? That is a lot of AAVs to roll out without any other kind of tech. So RavingLuhn now can get missile battery fab without really taking any significant losses. That was 1 LAV that was just a scout that could have been taken out by this AAV maybe. So I think Fukushima there may be a little impatient to
recover the artifact.
clear out that scouting information. And now RavingLuhn
Module out.
is not going to be vulnerable to that element of surprise that you can
Salvager
typically get with
online.
air.
Missile battery fabrication systems now online.
RavingLuhn is guarding the base runner with AAVs, and I would say maybe 1 is good to deter a small group of LAVs, and certainly there are enough AAVs here to defend the resourcing pocket as long as they're positioned correctly. But RavingLuhn doesn't have any offensive power, or at least he's not using these AAVs offensively. 7 AAVs, I mean, even if just 4 of these were up here, these fighters alone wouldn't really be enough to fight them off.
Friendly vehicle has lost possession.
Fighters are going to prioritize that base runner, which, okay, fair enough.
Combat alert. Support craft down. Contact. Enemy armor.
I think RavingLuhn has the
Go for armor. Armored vehicle
brute
has
force
been
available,
destroyed.
especially with all this
Salvager
remote mining that
has
he's
been
doing. He
engaged.
has the resources
We have
clearly
insufficient
to be able to do a
units.
lot of damage here to
Enemy airstrike
Fukushima,
inbound.
but he's not really taking advantage of it.
Alert. Salvager destroyed.
Fukushima here now expanding,
Rally
and
point set.
this again
Move to
would be just
location.
so vulnerable to a group of AAVs. Even with the Soban carrier here, the Soban carrier is just not that good at defending.
Missile battery online.
It's really the worst carrier as far as its weapons go.
Board is green.
So
Let's roll. Board is
I think there was definitely a big missed
Let's roll.
opportunity here, and
Relies on an artifact. Stand by.
it's really kind of like a turtling strategy, except that
Tracking hostile.
turtling while also trying to ferry artifacts.
We have insufficient CUs.
And maybe he was just running the base runner because he had it, and you figure, okay, by default, might as well use that base runner to grab artifacts. Fukushima here actually building one explicitly for that purpose, because
Missile
he had
battery
retired his base runner
operational.
earlier. And just looking at the military, Fukushima still only on 3 fighters, does have a gunship queued
Salvager
up,
online.
Displacing now.
which can do a lot against salvagers, but not really anything against AAVs.
Systems online.
And these
Enemy
3
contact
strike
on the
fighters
board.
alone are going to run into a missile battery,
Armor is en route. We've got a
and there's going to be
Salvager
some
under
AoE damage here from the missile battery. Oh, actually 2 missile batteries here, so these fighters are going to go down. This leaves Fukushima extraordinarily vulnerable. He took out 1 salvager for the price of 3 strike fighters, and militarily speaking, just doesn't have anything else. He's got 5 LAVs. 1 AAV just rolls through that. He's got 1 AAV here. Who cares? You know, you can walk right by an AAV and it does so little damage to an armored target that you don't need to even pay attention to it. And 1 gunship, which again, against armored targets, isn't going to do anything. Even though RavingLuhn doesn't have any railguns and hasn't researched railgun tech, he's got the AAVs to be able to just walk in and win the game right at this moment. Fukushima does have rail tech, so he could counter that.
Location mark.
And in fact is building railguns, and has a couple out right now. But these have been sitting back here for several minutes, so that window, though, now it has closed, or it may be closed, depending on what RavingLuhn can follow up with.
Construction resources
Was wide open for a long time. And some additional scouting information, just poking in with a few LAVs, which he did have one before to be able to see that, okay, there's nothing really back here at home.
Upgraded. Hostile forces are attempting to extract an artifact.
We're clear to proceed.
Fleet capacity deployable. Missile battery online. Deploying.
RavingLuhn does finally have a support
module.
cruiser coming out. I'm not sure that it matters a whole lot,
We've detected something.
but it might help just increase the rate of resourcing
Armored vehicle
and
is taking fire.
match Fukushim here. So,
New heading set.
if these railguns stay up front, then the AAVs can start... Oh, that was weird.
Armor, go ahead.
Maybe
Fire covering.
didn't realize the range on those, but he's going to
Salvager
try and sort of
online.
retreat from these railguns with the smoke, and I think I would have charged through the smoke because these railguns aren't backing off. And Fukushim wasn't managing them super closely. They're actually following, and so swinging some of these AAVs right back around to getting on top of the railguns could have done a lot of damage to them. Especially if he'd kept the mortars on these missile batteries until getting in range
completed.
and had used those on the railguns. These are very soft targets, no armor upgrades on them right now. So even the missile batteries alone could have probably done significant damage, almost taken out the railguns, then one or two AAVs could come in and clean them up. There was a disruptor used here, what do we call it? A targeting jammer used here by Fukushim. I don't know that it really did anything except maybe scare RavingLuhn off. And again, I just gotta say, I think RavingLuhn really had all of the elements to win that fight, especially with the missile batteries completely countering the air tech from Fukushim, preventing him from wanting to build any more.
Salvager
But these
online.
railguns are all alive. And these AAVs are all damaged and running back home wounded and
Advance and evaluate.
trying to repair. These missile batteries, which are very slow to move across the map, also have to retreat, meaning that there is actually a window now here for Fukushim to use air, at least as a defensive option, because if he poked in over here or poked in over here, these missile batteries can only be in one place at a time, and since they are so slow, you have to kind of advance them across the map more deliberately than other units. Behind all this now, Fukushim has a second support cruiser expanding onto all 3 points. RavingLuhn not doing... Well, he is expanding onto the 3 points, but still remote mining off of the main resource patch, so that's not quite as efficient.
Missile
Building
battery operational.
even more missile batteries. 5 missile batteries on top of these 7 AAVs.
Let's roll.
It's just amazing. There aren't that many losses. I think, yeah, RavingLuhn might have lost 1 AAV.
Identified craft on approach.
But hasn't ever built any
We have something on
railguns.
the horizon. Waiting for eyes on to authenticate.
Research completed.
This would have been really great for RavingLuhn if that were just on top of the hill, because railguns will go down real fast to turrets.
Hostile forces have recovered an artifact.
But now, unless I see a whole bunch of railguns pop out here for RavingLuhn, I think this is sort of going to be over soon.
Armored assault operation.
He's getting support cruiser anti-air, but he has 5 missile batteries. And he's getting support cruiser anti-air... I guess he does have the missile battery upgrades, because I'm not seeing those other tech options available there. So that's
Armored
interesting.
assault online.
This railgun here almost went down to the turret.
A turret is under fire.
That'll go down to the AAV.
Alert, turret post destroyed.
Another way of understanding this game is just looking at the map coverage. Both extraction zones are effectively under the control of Fukushim here. Fukushim has longer range
Support cruisers have been outfitted
longer
with
range units
anti-air
as far as
defensive
being able to
systems.
project fire out.
Destination
Fukushim has air tech.
Carrier here.
Finally, we're seeing railgun tech coming out from RavingLuhn here. This is
Artifact
so
revision locked
late,
in.
14 minutes
Accurate.
into the game, 13 minutes maybe, to be getting railgun tech is just...
Board is green.
You know, if there were fighter tech as
Research
well, and
completed.
maybe even some cruisers coming out, that might be understandable. If there were lots of LAVs coming out and sort of overwhelming these railguns, that might be understandable. But to just have AAVs for 13 minutes of the game, 14 minutes of the game,
Hostile on
is
tractors. Authentication
really hard to
stated.
play. And
Armored
again,
vehicle
the
taking
thing is, I
effective
think
fire.
RavingLuhn had the economy early to be able to do something with this. And in the fight that we had over here by Fukushim's main resource point, there was an opportunity to take over those railguns and
Destination set.
and to then hit the resource point and send Fukushima running. But he turned around and ran. And in this situation, I think right now turning around and running makes sense. It's a little hard to close the gap with these railguns. On the other hand, Fukushima hasn't been kiting away with the railguns. So this is sort of, as a caster, frustrating on both counts because both players are sort of not 100% on the ball with these little skirmishes. And if one player just sort of extracted a little, was just a little more aggressive, they could really tip the scales. This is going to go down very quickly to these missile batteries, I hope. Yeah, over there.
Mortar launch. Target set. Enemy
In here,
armor
again,
approaching.
just...
Guard set
So
on
the
top.
mortar, I think this is just, RavingLuhn isn't really sure how to use this ability. Or maybe was intending to use the smoke since they have the same hotkey.
Target set. Load and fire. Reading.
And maybe is selecting all of them, in which case, if you do select all of them and press E for that hotkey, there we go. So now we have some smoke coming in. So maybe RavingLuhn just wasn't aware of this missile battery mortar ability at all. It's a really good ability, though. I mean, if he had brought these missile batteries just right here, and then use the mortar ability like here and here. There we go. See, look at that damage. That's pretty good damage for what's typically considered a non-combat kind of just supporting unit. AAVs coming in here, if they had come in behind and also in through this spot, could have just done a ton of damage. Look at that. Imagine if that was on all 4 of them. He's learning. Okay, all right. This unit should be ignored. It is doing so little damage to anybody and taking so little damage from all of these AAVs, it doesn't matter. The railguns here, these are like 90% of the damage of what RavingLuhn has on the field here. And there's too many railguns here from Fukushima for them to do any real damage. But if these AAVs have been charging at the same time, around the edge there, forcing these railguns to move into different ground, then maybe that would have worked a little bit better. So... again, all of the right elements are here, and I think what RavingLuhn needs to work on is just the positioning. There's a nuke coming.
New heading set.
I missed that tech choice. I haven't really been watching the tech very closely.
Green line confirmed.
I would say if you know you've got the nuke, and you know you're about to send it into the enemy, just run everything you've got forward. What's with all this waiting behind? 10 AAVs. There's way too many when you've only got 2 railguns. Move everything here and here and here and just all at the same time. All of this stuff. The gunship coming in. This isn't going to do anything. I mean, this is gonna turn around and run away from the missile batteries. I think.
Railgun online. Hostile forces have recovered an artifact.
Position mark. Take us out.
Railgun operational.
So it looks like we might finally be seeing a bit more movement from RavingLuhn. More railguns coming out. We're up to 6 now. Let's check production. Fukushima also building railguns though, and he has 9. Looking at the tech, we've got 1 armor upgrade from RavingLuhn, and looks like a lot of armor upgrades from. Looks like all the armor upgrades and the mag upgrade for Fukushima.
Railgun online.
So these are much better railguns than what RavingLuhn has, and there are more of them. They're a little spread out, though. RavingLuhn coming in with the carrier, and a well-timed nuke could do a lot here, especially with all of the supporting fire. I'm just concerned, based on the fights that we've seen before, that RavingLuhn won't go in as aggressively as he should.
Armor vehicle taking effective fire.
These AAVs also need more armor to be able to just walk in as a shield against these railguns.
Alert, railgun lost.
Be advised, carrier repair systems online.
Alert, carrier is taking fire.
RavingLuhn is powered up a whole lot, but putting all that power into turrets and nothing into range, which means that this railgun, which is right here, is not being damaged by the carrier. The carrier from the Coalition can do a lot of damage when it's powered up, but it needs the range in order to actually apply that fire. 2 battlecruisers here. I can't believe I missed those. Really, the game hadn't been moving much.
Target set, launch.
From Fukushima are going to do a lot, and here's the nuke. And these battlecruisers are walking right back into the nuke. Not going to go down, but are going to take a lot of damage from it. If this carrier had the range, it might be able to do a little more, apply a little more damage to these battlecruisers. As it is, the battlecruisers are just doing a ton of damage to these railguns and these clustered AAVs. The AAVs can't really do anything against the battlecruisers. This carrier is not doing any damage because it's all powered up in the turrets and nothing in the range. This is the most powerful unit that RavingLuhn has, and it's doing nothing. It is absorbing a bunch of damage, and it doesn't even have the armor powered up. Here we finally, just when it's just sitting on top of the battlecruiser, you can see it's taking its health down. A whole lot. All those missiles coming in. But it needed to be applying that damage at range long ago. And it needs to be killing these railguns. These are soft targets that can go down to this huge barrage of fire that the Coalition carrier can dish out. But because it's not being used at range, RavingLuhn's carrier will go down, along with a very large army of AEVs. So congratulations to Fukushima on that game. Fukushima, I should say. It's very similar to Fukushima. So this game, I think both players very passive. Fukushima really took advantage of that by building the battlecruisers. But again, the early economy from RavingLuhn and the early build choices from RavingLuhn were not bad. They were just not applied as well as they could have been in order to do a lot of damage to Fukushima. And Fukushima, I think, had too much early reliance on air and didn't use that stealth of the air well enough. You can't really see the air units when they're inside there. You can sort of see like the raised platform or something, or maybe it's these things. I forget exactly how you read the carrier to be able to see what the tech is, but you can kind of tell that they might have air tech, but you can't see how many fighters they have in there. And Fukushima deployed his strike fighters against one little LEV, taking away that element of surprise, allowing RavingLuhn to get missile batteries. So I have plenty of comments on both of them throughout this replay on areas that they can improve in. I hope to see both of them in future Artifact Cups. And because RavingLuhn could not continue playing in the Cup, could only had time to play one game, that means Fukushima will advance and will move on to face whoever is the victor between Megarith and Iwaki, which is coming up next. Thank you for watching.